Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at something a little bit different than your average Star Wars Black Series figure, and that is of course what you see in front of you. This is the 1/12 scale AT-RT made by Veilstoystore over on AliExpress. Now it's not an official Black Series item, but I know a lot of Black Series collectors are interested to see what this is all about and to see whether it's worth adding to their collection. So I'm going to do my very best to give you a rundown of the pros and cons for this, and then you can decide whether it's worth your money or whether it truly does deserve the title of bootleg. There's no packaging to cover with this one, as it just comes in a cardboard box surrounded in a plastic case. Nothing fancy, certainly nothing interesting. So without further ado, let's get straight into the main article itself and take a look at the AT-RT. So if you choose to buy this, there are two different versions available right now. You can buy the AT-RT on its own, or you can choose to buy it with the figure that you see in front of you, which is your ARF Trooper or your AT-RT driver. I chose to get it with the figure as it just makes sense. We see these guys a lot in the Clone Wars, specifically on Umbara, and in the Black Series we only really have the regular 501st clone, Anakin or Ahsoka, of which we see riding this throughout the series. So it just makes sense to me. So if you want to spend a little bit extra money, you can get it with the figure included. I will briefly show you that figure now, as I've got one separate from this release. This has been available through Veilstoystore for quite some time now, and as most Black Series collectors will be aware, with these quote-unquote bootlegs, the plastic quality is not quite as good as the official releases from Hasbro, but this is a really good way of getting some characters and some different classes of Clone Trooper into your collection, which we haven't officially seen yet. So this is built up on the 3.0 Clone Trooper body mold, so it's got the chest overlay, 2 trigger fingers and bicep swivel. The helmet is removable, but underneath you'll just see a plain white, unpainted, unhelmeted Clone Trooper head. So it's not something I'm going to show you in this video, as it's not really an essential part of the figure itself. So it does come with the DC-15 carbine, which you see him holding there. And then you also get the DC-15 blaster rifle, so we all know what those look like and we know what to expect with those in this scale. It's nice that you get a little bit of weapon variety with this guy if you don't want him riding the walker, or if you want him blasting things whilst he's running along with it. But yeah, it's a decent figure. Like I say, I think it pairs nicely with the vehicle. But enough about this guy. This one's old news. We want to take a look at the main article itself. So as you can see, immediately, straight off the bat, it's quite a visual spectacle. It does look very impressive, and it looks very nice, very accurate. I'm going to give you a quick 360 of this, as best I can. Please bear with me, as it's quite a sizable piece, and I'm trying to do this from behind a camera. But you can see lots of the nice details as we go around this. From the main chassis of the vehicle, the turret on the front, the legs and the feet itself. It's everything you'd expect to see on the AT-RT. Now, I do think the general consensus amongst the community is that for the most part this is a rescaled version of the Hot Toys AT-RT that was released a few years ago. If that is the case, then it would certainly attest to why this has lots of nice details, as they all look very crisp and very accurate, and it's certainly going to make for a very nice display. So as you can see there, if we punch in close, you can see that we've got the traditional 501st Clone Trooper livery. You see these throughout the Clone Wars. They're used a lot on Umbara. It's a very accurate design, it's very nice. Again, it's the same design that the Hot Toys version did use, but I think the details and the paint applications for something that's unofficial have been recreated really well here. As you can see, you've got the 501st numbering on the side there with the white stripe that goes down the centre, and you've also got the turret on the front. Now this does go up and down, and it does turn left and right, and it's also attached by a magnet. So when you get this in the box, this won't be attached, it'll be a separate piece in a bag, I assume to prevent any breakages, as it does feel a little fragile, but again the details have been recreated very well. So this will just snap into place of its own accord, and it does stay very securely, as the magnet, as you can see, is very strong. Looking at the side of the vehicle and the rear of the vehicle now, you can see that the main body has been recreated very nicely. It's got what I would refer to as the engines down in the bottom right hand side. Those have been detailed in a gunmetal colour, which again, it's quite accurate. They look very good. Above that you can see that there are some little red lights on the tail there. Those have been painted very nice. It's not sloppy. It looks good when on display. Similar to that, you can see that the buttons that are on the dashboard have also been painted. Something that I wouldn't have really expected on a release like this, but it's very nice to see. The handlebars have also been painted. They're in that gunmetal colour, and the actual grip on the bars has been painted in a dark grey. Just worth noting about the handlebars is they don't come attached to the vehicle in the box, or if they were intended to, they do fall off during transit. It's nothing to worry about when you get this. They've got a keyed peg and they just push into place. Unfortunately, they don't move, but I think they're in the position they need to be, and they allow the figure to be seated very nicely, as you can see there. Speaking of which, the seat under him, that's painted black, and you can just make out under his knee there is another yellow light detail in there as well. And finally, the antenna on the back, that's nicely detailed. Another separate piece which you have to plug in yourself, but it's very easy to do. And the antenna are actually made out of metal. So I think that's a really nice touch, as if they were made out of plastic, they could be quite brittle and prone to some breakages. So it's nice to see a sturdier material has been used in this situation. So taking a look at the legs, you can see that the 501st blue continues down, recreating that detail that you see throughout the Clone Wars. The foot pedal over to the left is worth mentioning, as that panel does rotate side to side and might be in a different orientation when you take this out of the box. Whilst it doesn't need any assembly other than the blaster and the antenna, the legs do come folded up, so you will have to set this up and pose it however you would like to have it in your display. So looking at some reference material I found helps with this a lot. I always look at pictures from the Clone Wars, from the movies, whatever it may be, just so I'm setting things up correctly and they are a faithful representation on the display of what you see on screen. The articulation on this is something else worth noting. I will demonstrate it for you briefly in a moment, but each point that you would expect to move, with this being an AT-RT, does in fact move. So these pistons, they work, so when you bend the leg up and down, the piston will move with it, as can be said for these smaller ones featured here. There's a main bend joint on the body there, so this whole leg assembly will move forward and back. That's ratcheted, so you've got about 2 clicks of movement in there, and then every other joint is on the circle sections of the legs, and those are also ratcheted as well. Something very interesting, you do get this the small Allen key, and you can use this to tighten each of the articulation points on the leg to keep this guy sturdy and keep him from falling down on display. So we're just coming down to the lower legs and the feet of the vehicle now. As you can see, that blue paint application once again follows all the way down to the bottom of the vehicle. It's been recreated very nicely, and the paint applications are very crisp and there's a very little paint bleed. You can see the treads on the bottom of the feet there. Those are very sharp details and very nicely recreated also. You can see all the bolts that are there. You can use that aforementioned Allen key to tighten those up or to slacken those off, depending on your own personal preference. Now I'm going to demonstrate the articulation on this guy for you just by using the toes. I don't want to articulate the legs, as they've already been tightened to my preference, and I'm a little bit worried that doing it behind a camera, accident might happen, the vehicle might fall over, and that wouldn't be entertaining for you, and it certainly wouldn't be entertaining for me. So all the ratchet joints, they operate as follows. As you can hear, nice ratcheting joint, very strong. Same for the toe there. And again, they move very freely. You can tighten those up just to control those tolerances, of which, if you buy this, you'll feel as you get it out and in hand and test it out for yourself. Wrapping up the video now with a small size comparison, just so you can see how big the vehicle is. It's certainly something that particular collectors may have to take into consideration if they choose to pick this one up. I might struggle to fit this somewhere, but I'm still very happy that I bought it, as it's quite a nice vehicle. Now I know it's unofficial and that might put some people off, but I don't think it's going to hinder the efforts of the Star Wars team over at Hasbro. Those guys have done some fantastic work over 2025, and if anything, I think this will serve as inspiration to keep them moving forward and deliver something even better. But for now, it's a nice placeholder, and it's going to look great in any 6-inch Black Series collection. Thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I've tried to make it as in-depth and as detailed as I can. Please let me know in the comments below what you think of the vehicle and if you'll be picking one up. Please stay tuned to the channel, as there's some new Black Series figure reviews coming very soon. Also head over to Instagram and follow me on there if you haven't already. That's always very much appreciated, and it's where I'm most active and where I post all HD images of the items that I review. So that just about does it for this video, guys. Again, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. May the Force be with you.